When mentioning New Orleans, most people would perhaps think of jazz, one of the most influential music genres that originated in the Crescent City itself. But the former capital of Louisiana has so much more to it, namely its vibrant nightlife, exciting festivals, and of course, its cuisine, in which New Orleans' unique cultural diversity most manifests itself. Just take a visit to the Big Easy, and you'll find that the city is truly a foodie paradise. And while many Americans think of the influx of new immigrants to the country, bringing with them new flavors, ingredients, and cooking techniques as a metaphoric melting pot, in New Orleans they call it a gumbo. In this video, we will take a look at New Orleans and its iconic gumbo. New Orleans is a city in southeastern Louisiana, United States, situated on the banks of the Mississippi River and Lake Pontchartrain. The city lies about 105 miles north of the Gulf of Mexico and occupies a strategic position at the mouth of the Mississippi-Missouri River system, which drains the rich interior of North America. The city covers an area of 350 square miles, of which 170 square miles are land and 180 square miles are water. The city's elevation ranges from 6.5 feet below sea level to 20 feet above sea level, with most areas being at or below sea level due to subsidence. The city's topography is characterized by ridges and hollows along the river, while much of the surrounding land is flat and marshy. New Orleans has a humid subtropical climate with mild winters and hot, humid summers.
The city is often referred to as the most unique city in the United States, and for good reason, but the majority can be attributed to its multilingual and cultural heritage. As mentioned, the mixtures of cultures could be seen clearly in New Orleans cuisine, perhaps most clearly in gumbo, as the dish combines the culinary practice of Africans, Native Americans, French, and Spanish. The only thing more New Orleans than a dented pot of gumbo simmering on the back burner is arguing about the right way to make it. As an article on gumbo posted on New Orleans website said, simply because having originated from French, African American, and other cuisines, the recipe and ingredients of the dish are greatly varied. Creole gumbo, or gumbo of Louisiana descendants, generally contains shellfish and a duck root, filet, or both, whilst Cajun gumbo, a gumbo of French descent, is generally based on the duck root and is made with shellfish or fowl. However, in essence, gumbo is a thick stew served over rice and made with a roux, a mixture of butters and flour, and a wide variety of ingredients such as celery, peppers, okra, onions, chicken, sausage, or seafood. In the next part, we learned about these iconic dish ingredients in relation to New Orleans' history, topography, and economic activities.
New Orleans was founded by the governor of French Louisiana, Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienville, in 1718. The city is located in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding, and as a result, many of the early settlers had to rely on the ingredients that were available in the area. This led to the use of local ingredients such as okra, which were used as a thickener in place of flour. Okra is a type of vegetable made popular in New Orleans by enslaved Africans. African slaves were brought to the French colony in large numbers starting in 1719, and by 1721, more than half of the inhabitants of New Orleans were African. The name gumbo is also said to have derived from okra, and is served West African language. The word for okra is gumbo, or in its shortened form, gumbo. Another thickener powdered saffron, known as filet, were introduced to the French settlers whose farming techniques and crops were not suited for swarming New Orleans by Native Americans.
Another crucial ingredient of gumbo is seafood. In 1762 and 1763, France signed a Treaty of Fontainebleau, ceding Louisiana to Spain. For 40 years, New Orleans was a Spanish city, trading heavily with Cuba and Mexico, and adopting the Spanish racial rules that allowed for a class of free people of color. The Spanish government established a military to fortify their territory's defenses, enlisting Canary Island fishermen to settle along the coast of Louisiana. These fishermen supplied the locals with a variety of seafood, including shrimp, crab, and oysters, establishing seafood as an important ingredient in the traditional dish. Louisianers returned to the French in 1803 and were sold to the United States 20 days later in the Louisiana Purchase. Throughout the first part of the 19th century, New Orleans rose to become the wealthiest and third largest metropolis in the United States. The port transported commodities from the country's interiors to the Caribbean, South America, and Europe. Through trade and commerce, a variety of ingredients such as tomato and rice were introduced and made their way into gumbo.
Then there's roux, a staple of French cuisine. It's a blend of flour and fat, usually oil for gumbo cooked together, used as a thickening and flavoring agent. It was only toward the end of the 19th century that the ingredient most closely associated with gumbo today made its way into the pot. Albeit its late presence, the French influence on the dish cannot be disregarded. Being the dish that has root embedded in New Orleans history, topography, and location with rural significance indicates the city-rich French history. Filet use reveals the city link with Choctaw Native Americans, and okra use highlights the city's troublesome West African connections. Gumbo today offers no less significance than it was in the past. From local chefs to secret family recipes, gumbo is a prized dish at many households and restaurants. It is a testament to the city's rich cultural heritage and its ability to blend together diverse traditions to create something truly unique. Or as Yeoman, a writer of the New York Daily Times, who visited New Orleans in 1853, said, "I doubt if there is a city in the world where the resident population has been so divided in its origin, or where there is such variety in the tastes, habits, manners, and moral codes of the citizen."